Leadership to me is, well, it starts with self, right? So leadership is a top-down approach. So beyond. So if you're not embodied in your leadership, then you're not really leading, right? So you can tell people what to do, whatever, but that's not leadership, right? So leadership is an embodiment from the top down of certain values, principles, and actions that, ripple into to a business or to a family or to a relationship that have positive impacts.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Welcome, everybody! My God, I am so excited. This topic and the person I have on, this is amazing. We've got to talk about leadership. We have got to talk about getting on that cutting edge. You guys, if you want to see this planet shift and change the way many people just keep going on about, well, okay, great. Then you better step into your power and leadership and start doing the work you're meant here to do and be about what you're here to be about. Start speaking up, start showing up, right? And we're going to talk about those things, like the need for that and the opportunity to lead the way in so many different ways. And so I'm really grateful for our guest today because he's leading the way in big ways in business and when it comes to nootropics, when it comes to plant medicine and everything else. And his work is so fascinating. I still don't fully understand it all, like, to be honest, but that's okay. I don't need to understand all of it. I understand his heart and the direction he's taking everything and in general what he's doing. And it's amazing. And I love the leadership that he's demonstrating in the space that he's playing in as much as anything. And so I'm really grateful for that. So Matt, it's a real pleasure to have you on today.
Well, thank you. I am excited to be here. That energy is just percolating throughout me. So thanks for bringing the energy today.
Sure thing, and I'm grateful. So Matt is the author of Elevated Executive and founder of Inner Circle, a dedicated plant medicine community of leaders and innovators. Wow, I think that's just so phenomenal. His team building skills have been utilized by brands like Facebook and Airbnb. His leadership framework has produced over $100 million in profits for brands he's helped grow. So, wow. Yeah, you've been a part of some big stuff here, and you've got some really impactful, endeavors you're up to. Now let me guess. The way it happened is you just did a lot of meditation, and you just kind of let it just unfold, and it just kind of happened all by itself. You didn't have to, show any leadership or any initiative whatsoever, right? You just kept hoping it would work out, and then it did, right?
That's pretty much it. Thanks for having me on. It was a good talk.
Yeah, there we go. We're done. All right, that's the way to do it. So what I'm saying is, a lot of people, what I see with my listeners, and they're all different, but many of the listeners anyway, they keep wanting to go to another level, but they don't want to go to another level of leadership. And I feel like that is by far, uh, you know, by far one of the most important things. So one of the most important things that we need to step into if we want to see a real change in the impact we're having and the business revenue and scale and size and all those things, we have got to step into that next level of leadership. But so many people hesitate. So I'm wondering, first of all, I'm going to back up the train now, and I went that far already. Do you even have like a definition for leadership? I'm not going to assume that we all have the same kind of view of leadership. So do you have a view of leadership, like a definition? What does it mean to really, step into our leadership?
Well, that's a great starting point. And prior to me thinking these words coming out of my mouth right now, I don't really have a defined what I would call leadership. And leadership to me is, well, it starts with self, right? So leadership is a top-down approach. So beyond. So if you're not embodied in your leadership, then you're not really leading, right? So you can tell people what to do, whatever, but that's not leadership, right? So leadership is an embodiment from the top down of certain values, principles, and actions that ripple into to a business or to a family or to a relationship that have positive impacts. And when I think I've heard a portion of this quote, from somebody. I can't remember. It was a great leader that I've been studying, but basically saying that leadership is leaving people better than you met them, and or giving them empowering them to do things beyond what they thought they could do. So when you whether it be, say, leading your family or leading your team within business, when you show up and you're embodied in a certain way and you have certain values and principles and actions, that automatically trickles down into other people doing the same thing or something similar in that energy. So leadership is an embodied presence for people to emulate for better, for a better outcome for whatever it is you guys are working towards.
Oh, wow. Okay, I don't think I've heard that definition before. That's a little different, a little different way of saying it. I mean, I really like it, and it's a presence, something you're embodying rather than this is what you got to do to be a leader. Like because usually that's where the conversation historically has started. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing to lead yourself? Right? The self leadership is always like the cornerstone, and then how do you lead others? And it's always tends to be mindset, action, things like that. But what you're pointing to me is something a bit, I don't know, I guess deeper. It feels deeper to me. So
Well, everything has levels, right? So
yeah,
there's
yeah,
the level of, like, say, that you do have to communicate in a way that people can understand and be inspired to take action, right? So if I yell at you and degrade you and whatever, you're going to be less likely to take empowered action. But if I'm,
yeah.
speaking in an inspired way and, really giving you praise in ways that I know that you can, step up and do a good job, then that's going to be a form of leadership. So leadership can look a lot of different ways.
Mhm.
But from my training and what we really help with people here is how can you, the CEO, the person who's kind of at the top of, maybe not the top of the company, but maybe even top of your like, say, whoever you're leading, you're the linchpin, you're the kind of the one that everyone's looking at. So the embodiment of whatever it is you want them to do, you're responsible for it. That's why you take people like Mark Cuban. I like Mark Cuban. I think he's got some good stuff, but he's a great example of leadership. Like when he took over the Mavericks, when he bought the Mavericks, he just sold his stake, but he owned it for almost 20 years. When we first got there, he was in like every practice and everything. He wanted to learn about the business of basketball and or the people, and he wanted to show that, hey, I'm a leader. I'm here working for the better good of the company. And people see the guy at the top doing that kind of stuff, or being in the trenches, so to speak. That's a form of leadership. That's a way of saying, hey, like, this guy has our back. He's gonna, he's not just telling us what to do. He's out here doing it with us, or he cares enough to know, or to come out here and see what we're doing so we can do it, or he can, teach us or lead us to do better, or we can be better as an organization. So leadership comes in a bunch of different forms, but the embodiment of the spirit and the energy and the actions of a great leader, is something that trickles down into those other people, that they are then inspired to basically to lead themselves. Because that's all leadership is, like you leading yourself in a way that helps other people lead themselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, how we showing up? But but what I was hearing in the beginning was that it's a presence. I want to dig into that. So tell us more about the presence, the energy that we come from when being really powerful leaders. I mean, you could be, yeah, like you said, you could just tell people what to do. Like, I'm showing up, I'm kind of doing these things. Why don't you just do that, do this? Like you said, we could yell at people. That's not going to be I mean, it could be effective, I guess, right? There have been leaders that do that, but usually it doesn't work so well, especially in today's day and age. People
Yeah,
just go
short term
past.
effective, long term you're going to lose them.
Yeah, yeah, not sustainable, right? So, but I don't know, for me, I feel like when I'm leading the way, I feel like I'm connecting with the infinite. I'm letting something drop into me, and I'm not letting that guide and lead me. And there's that, I guess, sort of a soul force that's carrying me and that people could feel, and then people want to get in that too, right? And then there's this energy that's flowing through me. So I don't know. When you were saying that, I was like, yeah, I kind of think I know what he's talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the presence. You mentioned that word presence. I think that's a powerful word in a sense. People know it when they see it, or they feel it when they see it, or when they feel it when they're around it, right? So it's not always what you say. Sometimes it's just your body language, how you're carrying yourself, how you're interacting with people, how you are showing up in whatever situation that you're in. And that's what great leaders do. they inspire other people to say, oh, he's doing something. Like I just need to pay attention, or I want to pay attention. I want to follow him, right? Not in a way that like I want to be, whatever. But it's kind of like, I want to learn. Like this guy's got something energetically that I don't. And for me, and like I say, we talk about elevated executive. How do you be that? Have presence, you have to have a regulated nervous system. To have a regulated nervous system, you get to do all the work to not necessarily clear out, but get to know who you are on an unconscious level, know all your past traumas and do the work around clearing them, know all your trigger points and or what your strengths and weaknesses are so that you can kind of play to them and be in a state of power, in a state of presence that is powerful, right? So when we've done a lot of our work, transformational work, healing work, leadership work, confidence, it comes through in a way that people can just feel it. So I get people tell me that a lot when they meet me, like, oh, just I feel comfortable around you. I feel like, safe. I feel like this is just a good space to be in. And that's a version of true leadership and what we call, elevated executive, to be that kind of leader that people just want to be around, that want to be a part of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that good energy. I mean, that's something that I caught on to, with when I had my academy for invincible healers. Was I was just like, I was just constantly bringing the good energy, constant enthusiasm, positivity. If I hear negativity, I help them to shift that right around. Okay, all right. But here's another way I look at it. Or there's conflicts. I'm like, okay, but where's your loving heart? Where's your compassion? Where's your understanding for the situation first? And then let's see how we can navigate this path forward effectively together, because you there's love here. Okay, can you feel that? Or what, like I just helping people to see the connected space that we all come from. And yeah, I think there's another level of this embodied leadership to me that you were pointing to right there in the beginning. And then yeah, there's all these skills and things to learn and whatnot, because I do know, like, there's certain things that people have seen me do, and they do wonder, like, how do you do that, right? Like, how do you take people that are at each other's throats or something or whatever it is? How do you turn that, or someone's at your throat, Daniel? How did you do that? How did you just fuse her? And what to me, it's really simple. I just get really present. I just let go. I get, and then this, like you get so present, you get so connected that really no matter what they throw at, and it doesn't matter. Like they throw the whole kitchen sink, whatever, and then as they get done, as they're out of ammunition, because there's nothing, you're not getting fuel, and you're able to say, I understand, I can feel you, I understand where you're coming from, like all the usual things. But at first, is you're really in that presence, you're really connecting to them, maybe even connecting at the heart space, right? And just really just being there with them. And then just like, yeah, okay, totally. I totally get you. Yeah, 100%. Whatever they say. Yeah, totally hear you 100%. And then just like, and sometimes that's all I say. It depends on what the situation is.
Yeah.
And I don't even try to counteract it all the time. Now I might try to give other truths later. I might be like, have another conversation about something else. Yeah, well, this reminds me of this and that, and then I get the message through maybe another way. Maybe it's direct. There's so many ways you can go. But if not willing to love people, you're not willing to hear where they're at, it's really hard to lead anybody. People are going to leave. People are going to say, I'm not being loved. I'm not being supported. I'm not being taken care of here. That's been my part of what I think is so important. There's so many layers to leadership, the part around leading a team, leading your team, like, or even just the people that work with you too, like leading those people. Like, you have got to learn to cultivate that space to be the most effective leader. And yeah, there is tough love or whatever, calling people out, sure. But it starts with that at the center for me anyway. That's what I feel works for me.
Yeah, what I heard there when I took away the most was listening. Like great leaders
Yeah,
listen, genuinely
yeah,
listen. Like they're listening to you. Like I say they don't even always have to say anything back other than everything's gonna be all right or whatever. Then people just some people just need a place to speak and or be heard or seen sometimes, especially when you're seeing up, right? Like if I'm a leader and I'm giving space to subordinates or people who are underneath me, that's hugely valuable. They feel seen, right? And like say that maybe there's nothing to fix, maybe they just want to tell you that, and or like that will impact your future decisions maybe, or whatever it is. But that's part of great leadership, is really listening, like truly listening, and really having an an empathetic heart, as you'd mentioned, like say a way to connect in a heart space. It's not just all here, you're connecting with the heart space as well.
Mhm.
Because, you probably know this, but, I work with a company called Heart Math, and,
Yeah.
the heart puts off like 10x the amount of energy vibration that your brain does, right? So when you can connect via the heart, truly, like say it's connecting intellectually is cool and like it feels good sometimes, like yeah, we're on the same page, whatever. But when you connect via the heart, I know you've experienced this. We probably experienced this together. That's true. That's another level. That's a deeper connection, and people will feel that, and that's what great leaders do. They're able to drop into that space and really connect with them on a deeper level than just ones and twos, X's and O's, or whatever the intellectual part is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why there's a fairly consistent pattern of people just wanting to hang out with me and talk with me. Now they don't all do business with me, but there's people that, their businesses or what they're doing in the world seems way bigger than what I seem to be doing. But they want, like, I just had a meeting with somebody right now. Okay, uh, I just was at a transformational leadership council, and we're up to this big project. It's going to be 1,000-year project, and we're all this stuff, and I'm having a conversation about how I can help them because they understand who I am. They're being a great leader, and it's because the space I'm coming from is so connected that they feel like doesn't matter who I am. They feel like I can help to guide and lead them in a conversation, even to get clear on what they're doing, just by talking to me. Like, even that's true. And so just when you're that good of a listener and you're really that connected, opportunities keep showing up for you. I mean, to help, and then, yes, and then to help your particular mission as well. I mean, yeah, it all works so well that way. But yeah, if you're always coming from your mind of like, how we're going to get this worked out, like everything else, right? Like a lead from figuring things out all the time. Like, yeah, that's definitely not nearly as effective. That's, yeah, I totally resonate with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it has its time and space. Like sometimes we get to be in our head and figure out
Sure.
things intellectually, but
Sure. Oh,
leadership in general is more of a heart thing, it's more of a human thing. Like say we're leading humans, we are humans, we're leading other humans, we're all humanly connected. So when we're able to connect on that level, the deeper you're able to have that connection, whether it be just building rapport as far as knowing who they are and really truly caring about them, and then like say then being able to like go from heart to headspace in a conversation where you feel like they feel like you're really seeing and hearing them. I've led many people, and that's definitely one of the key things, to have that open, transparent conversation with people, to be able to drop in and have that, that one-on-one or one-on-many or whatever it is, but having that space as a leader to connect with the other people, that's, part of the game. You have to do that to really be considered a great leader, because you can't call yourself a great leader. Other people get to call you that. And one of the ways that you do that is treating them as equals, treating them as humans, treating them as, we see you, not that my opinion is better than yours or I know more than you. It's more like, hey, I'm here to learn as much as you are to a certain degree. I may be making this, final decisions, but we're in this together and we're a team, and that's what great leaders are. We're just a part of the team.
yeah, and I think that, again, we think about like the old style ideas of leadership is like we're going to manipulate things so that we could make the company better and be, make more money and be profitable. And um, I'm not saying everybody you've thought that in the past. I'm just saying like there that kind of idea, like a great leader is one that's going to kick ass and get everybody in shape when they're screwing everything up. And okay, I mean that's maybe that's a portion of leadership sometimes in a way, but if you come with a loving heart, it's a whole nother thing. Like I'm uh, a business manager, sales, marketing director, and everything for this company, and so, I'll hear from the owner something like, we gotta sharpen something up, right? We need to talk to this person. Maybe we better approach this way or that way. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, okay. But I always lead with love. I always lead with like, hey, you're doing a great job, or what. I mean, I won't lie. I'm not gonna make something up that ain't true, but I'll start with something, so that I can actually lead them. Because when they know you care, like everybody, right? People that want to work with you and invest money, or people that want to work with your company, is because they know you care, right? Then they will listen. Then they'll follow you to the end of the earth. Is potentially anyway. Like if they know you care, and I think that's like when we're talking about like whatever, embodied leadership, cutting edge leadership, like that's what we're talking about here. Is that is not the typical leadership in the past, that we're told about. Like, that this is a big aspect of it. To me, it's revelatory. I mean,
It
it's
is.
going to be a little bit like people know about this already, right? But I think there's just people need to continue to understand it.
Yeah, I think it's the more you're connected, as we mentioned, the more you're connected to someone, the more you can proverbially kick their ass, right? Get them into that next
Yeah.
level because they know you care. So when you criticize them or give them real feedback, they know it's coming from a place of I want you to do better. I want you to be better. This is a team thing. It's not I'm not singling you out. It's not personal. I connect with you. We're humans, but and you get to do this better. And like, okay, boom. There's a level of sort of expectation slash not wanting to let down, right? When you're really connected with somebody, they don't want to let you down because your brothers or your family almost to a certain degree as far as you like, so you have that heart connection. I think that's fairly new. Like I say, it is becoming more mainstream. But I would look back, you can have great leaders who don't have that in the past. Like people like Steve Jobs wasn't notoriously high EQ, right? He was very manipulative in a way to get the best out of a lot of his people, and for better or worse he created some great things in the world. So I think we're evolving as people, and I think leadership is evolving, and I think generationally, I'm 40 years old, so younger than me now going forward, they need more of that. They need more of that connection to be inspired to follow them. They're not going to Gen Z people would be less likely to blindly follow a Steve Jobs-esque leader in a way that Gen X was, or the baby boomers were, or whatever, right? So as we start to keep to evolve as humans, we need certain elements of emotional intelligence and whatever to evolve that leadership to that next level.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, the thing, yeah, about like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, people like this, they are absolutely kicking everybody's ass like most all the time. Like, I mean, but here's the thing, like they have rapid turnover, just like Amazon too. Like they have pretty rapid turnover. Like people tend to hate working there, but one of the things that, like in some of these companies, I know with Elon, I heard this recently, it makes total sense. And I'm sure it was true with Steve Jobs. A lot of the people that are driving so hard, some of them, get off on that in a way. Like, we're doing this big thing. We got to put all this energy into it. And although I hate it, I'm into it because we're doing such incredible work. Right. And I think that drives a lot of people, but the sustainability is crazy. Like people, have all kinds look at him. I mean, he's dead. I mean, a little early, right? So I mean, it's not highly sustainable for over a really long period of time.
That's
Yeah.
the word. Is it sustainable? Like say, and here's the thing: everything's seasonal, right? Everything has an ebb and flow of a season.
Mhm.
So maybe there's a season for your company or whoever you're leading at this point where you get to be more Steve Jobs-esque, and then seasonally you get to shift that back in for yourself and for your team. Because as you mentioned, Steve Jobs, I'm not saying he was not he was an unhealthy person, but obviously he died of cancer. He died of a dis-ease in his body, so he had
Right.
something that was going on that he was out of alignment with, right? I
Right.
know he was a meditator, and I know that he tried
Yeah.
all sorts of different diets because he was sick, but he didn't really have that portion of his life dialed. Obviously,
Yeah.
he had other things much more dialed. So and we talk about holistic leadership and who people want to follow in the future. It's that person who has, I don't want to say has it all figured out, but who has their health figured out, and who is not necessarily a family person, but has great relationships. That's part of being a great leader, is like having great relationships, having great rapport with people. But then, of course, then having skills or have some sort of business drive or whatever you're doing to make impact in the world. And that's why people do follow people like a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk, who's more of a modern version of Steve Jobs, because they have such great visionary leadership and they're able to really enact that in certain ways that people just want to be a part of something so cutting edge and so big and so beyond what they could create anywhere else, that they'll put up with the other things that if you were working on selling peanuts, you would be less likely to deal with that from a manager or from a boss or from a leader, right? Because you would just be less inspired in the work you're doing. So they get away with more. I think Elon probably gets away with a lot more because he's working on such inspirational projects and such things that are moving the needle forward in people's minds.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. So So, I mean, one of the things I've heard about Elon, like one of the things, there's always people wanting to bring these people down, right? Where all their weaknesses are. And one of the things with Elon recently was, well, he's taking drugs and, okay. I mean, he dropped some acid a little bit here or there, maybe. This is rumors. Who knows if it's true? How much is true? We've seen him, everybody's seen him smoking, weed or whatever you want to call it, like on Joe Rogan's show. Everybody is pretty much seen it. But anyway, I mean, my point too, in segueing into that aspect of it is, you mentioned Steve Jobs with meditation and everything. I got Ray Dalio, right? He's a big name, the big meditator. Um, there's multiple dynamics, that lead into people being strong leaders, and to level you're more holistic, the more sustainable. Um, but what am I trying to get at is that I know that you're an advocate. I mean, you are helping people with health, as part of what you do in the world. And so I think that's, for me, if I'm not well, what am I going to do? Like I've had a cold over the last week. I'm still not completely over it. Just try running your business with a lot of energy and oomph and connection when you're not feeling well. It doesn't usually work so well. You're like,
Challenging.
yeah, I feel like taking a nap about now, right? So I've had to take better care of myself by knocking off early at night, and it gives me an excuse to go watch a movie with Deb or something. Just okay, just kick back, watch a movie, and have some fun. Just watching something funny or something. And so you have to take extraordinary care of yourself, and you got to be willing to look at the cutting edge things, nootropics, or maybe for some of us, plant medicine, things like that. So what do you have to say about that? Like people upgrading their vibration and their health as it relates to leadership as well.
I think you hit it on the head. I think it's integral, and it's moving forward. It's non-negotiable, because people see you. Like say, you can't when you feel well, you do well. When you feel when you feel like crap, you feel like you're not going to put out great your best product. It's
Right.
almost impossible. You can do it for short periods. Think about like Michael Jordan, the flu game, or something. People like that. You're able to channel greatness in something for a period of time, but then your body collapses. So we have these physical limitations to a certain degree, so we have to abide by certain roles in this third dimension of what we get to do with sleep is the biggest one. Like people talk about health and wellness, like if people just slept better,
Yeah.
you'd have a whole different ball game for most people, because most people just don't either sleep well, they don't get quality sleep, or they're not getting enough sleep, or they're drinking alcohol or doing other things that are impacting the quality of their sleep. Like I say, I personally wear an Aura ring.
Mhm.
Before that, I wore an Apple Watch for 5 years. So I've been tracking for about 8 years now, sleep specifically. And it's just a game changer. And it's really helped me narrow down. Like I said, I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I really see how big of an impact it does have on my sleep, or on my overall well-being.
Mm.
Plant medicines are a different thing. Like I said, I've definitely, between psychedelics and cannabis, used these as tools for personal transformation, personal introspection, sometimes even just energy and focus in small, micro doses, micro amounts. There's definitely different ways we as leaders get to, holistically, you know, balance that Steve Jobs energy of like get shit done, like be full in your kind of alpha, get going and get everything moving. And then the opposite of that would be like sort of the surrender and relax and shut off and shift out of work mode, right? So there's kind of that dynamic of how do you and certain people are able to burn hotter, so to speak. And there's like a certain percentage of the population, I can't remember, it's under 10%, it's like 4 or 5%, I think, of people who can literally live and thrive on 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And it's just
Yeah.
the way their DNA and the way their whatever their body type, their blood type, whatever it is, they're able to function more. And I grew up with someone like that, and it was always crazy to me. And I was like, how do you do that? He was older than me. He was like 10 years older than me. And I'm like, how do you do that? But just certain people built different. So obviously comparing our journeys to everyone else is never a great idea. But as far as keeping your awareness around, am I sleeping enough? Am I putting the right things in my body, food, water, supplements, whatever it is. And then, of course, are we doing things that are lighting us up, right? Are we doing things that we're passionate about? Are we enjoying the work we're doing? Are we working with people we like to work with? Or is that all basically bringing us down as well? Are we stressed? Are we hate the people we're communicating with? That all has a major impact on who you are and how you show up, right? So the first part is taking care of yourself. Mindset. Like I say, for me, I'm a daily meditator. It's been 13 years now, or I'm sorry, 12 years now since I started meditating daily. And for me, that's a non-negotiable. Minimum 5 minutes a day. If I can get 20 minutes, that's great. I got two young kids, so I don't get too much more than that these days. But either way, a form of meditation or stillness practice is great for the mind. And then some sort of physicality. I do something physical every day, even if it's just 15 minutes, but it's minimum 15 minutes, up to an hour. So I, average 30 minutes a day at least. And for me, that's a game changer. Not only does it keep me fit and just overall metabolically healthy, which will help me be less, higher immune system, less sickness, less everything else. But I just have more energy when you're fit and your body's running at sort of an optimal, speed and an optimal, size and whatever. Like you have more energy to exude. So I talk to people who are just kind of either overweight or whatever, and we've all been there from time to time. I feel more lethargic. You just have less energy day to day. And you can't, like I say, you can't lead from an empty tank. So everything comes back to really you being at your best in order to help other people model their best. And health, wellness, mindset, spirituality of being aligned and feeling good. Because like I say, when you feel good, you do good. When you're in that space, it's just so much easier to be a great leader. I watched something with Tony Robbins recently. I just forget, that guy has so much energy. He's 62 or he's 60 plus years old. He's got a 2.5-year-old daughter, right? So he's like, not only is he running, I think he said I have 114 businesses. Now, of course, he's not CEO and running all those businesses, but he's got a lot in his meta view of what he's working on, right? So he's just got so much energy, and he might be one of those guys who needs less sleep. I don't really know his background or whatever per se, but he's just got that energy where he's just like, he's going. But I know he's done a lot with his diet and his stuff over the years. And I'm sure I know he's, meditating / doing stillness practices, stuff like that. So he's doing a lot of the things that I see. Tony Robbins isn't my role model per se, but he's definitely doing things, and he's at an age, that I can respect, that he's, 20 years older than me. He still has as much or more energy than I do. So I'm like, okay, I got to take something away from that, because he's definitely doing something right.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, as much as he gets made fun of or brought down, everybody does, right? Everybody is making a big impact practically. It's a bad rap about something. I've said things about Tony Robbins. I'm like, like Tony Robbins nonsense or whatever. I've said stuff along those lines before, but yet I'll listen to him still. So the game, because some of it resonates and some doesn't, right? And so it's okay. I mean, he does talk about, what I've seen with the hard drivers. Increasingly, there's more of those people who are talking more about the more of the inside now. Like he'll talk about the beautiful state now, right? And then we have other people saying things about people who are really big with performance and whatnot. Dr. Peter Attia or whatever, like he's like, yeah, no, I realize it's all about dealing with my emotions and working on all that part. And I could give other examples too, like all these different leaders that are like, yeah, and I come to realize it's Ed Milet is another person that comes to mind. Yeah, it's about love. I need to really surrender to love now. And, he said, or whatever, however he says it, but basically that's what he's saying. And like everybody comes to a place where they realize, hopefully they get there eventually, but I see them more now where they're coming out saying these things like, yeah, there's that softer side I need to embrace now. And rather than keep driving it, from every example I gave was a guy, but it's not just men, it's women too, that get caught up in all that driver energy. And
Right, but high drive women have the same energy as high drive men. They're just in a
yes, exactly.
physique. So obviously, we all have obviously a masculine and feminine energy, right?
Totally.
So that
Totally.
masculine energy is what drives, and that's where or why a lot of men are successful in that sense, but they're maybe low EQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you usually see the women who are ultra successful have a higher EQ, just because I think it's more natural and or more that's an essence of a woman that has a higher EQ, is just more attuned to that, I think, naturally. So I think that's a natural thing. We all have natural talents, and we have skills that we can work on, and I think women are more naturally talented in the EQ category. But that's where, we talked about before, like we have a nootropic product. We have, we help people or we help leaders develop through, using plant medicines. These plant medicines are inherently feminine, right? Mary Jane, cannabis, ayahuasca is the mother of all, the grandmother, whatever. So most psychedelics, most things are bringing you into a more feminine state or connecting you with your feminine energy. And that's where we feel, being an elevated executive, that next level cutting edge leader is someone who is attuned as much to their EQ and their feminine qualities as they are to their masculine and their high drive and their other qualities that are, more visible, the more traditional markers of being a successful leader of a successful company, of people who lead successful companies. So we think the integration of both is what is that next level of leadership. It really is really how, if you're a high drive man or woman, able to balance that out with being a really high EQ leader and connector and person. So that's the magic of, we all have masculine and feminine energy. In the future, I think that's sort of the crossing of how a great leader will be born, or not born but made, is like how IQ are you and high drive, and how EQ are you and ability to lead and really be, that connector.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely examples of people doing significant things and making big impact in the world that are more yin oriented, for sure, like an Eckhart Tolle, or there's others, but that are coming from that space. Yeah, but they're much less than the examples we have of the drivers. Yeah, we have much more of the drivers as the examples. And so every time I see examples, I see more examples of a little more of that yin energy. And there are more examples, but when you think about really neon lights names, it's hard to find those names sometimes. Drivers, it's easy to find those names. So, but I
That's
love
the society. That's our society has really gone out and sought out and or given them recognition, whether because of the money or because of whatever, right? That's how we define success to a certain degree. It's like, oh, they're great leaders. They built this company from zero to $1 billion or whatever, right? So that's just our filter of how we're seeing
right,
great leaders at this point.
right,
And we had
right.
people like Tony Hsieh. I don't remember Tony Hsieh from Zappos, rest in peace.
Yeah,
He was a great example of a high EQ leader that actually started and created a massive, entity, built a company. I don't know what it was worth when whatever, but of course he got into some things that didn't lead him well, and he got he took his own life, which was very, very unfortunate. But he was a really great example of one of those high EQ leaders. But obviously something went wrong, and I don't have any real personal insights into that. But I was a fan of his. So
yeah, me too. I just was listening of a video where he was being interviewed by Joe Polish, and again, I had seen it before, and I was like, oh, he's so awesome, and I had forgot about he had killed himself. Now you reminded me of that. So yeah, what a shock that was at the time. Now that I kind of recall that now, but
well, and I
yeah,
definitely know he was doing certain drugs and ketamine, and he had a a dissociation problem or whatever. He had probably some trauma that he'd never resolved, and he was at a place where he could he was surrounding himself with yes people, and he had a whole thing. He was living in Park City at that time, and from what I read and whatever, like he had a bunch of yes men people around him that were basically feeding his unhealthy lifestyle, right? And when you get yourself set up for that, it's really hard to when you're in it, it's hard to see that 30,000-foot view of what's going on. And obviously things spiraled out of control, or quicker than he thought, and it happens, unfortunately. So it's a cautionary tale of how even a great man, a great leader can eventually then devolve down if you don't set up your environments in a way that supports you in a way that's for your highest and best growth.
yeah. I mean, have to find that balance. And for some reason, I'm thinking about Bruce Lee now. I still can't nail it down in my brain, even though I guess they say they know what killed him now. But but again, I think about somebody that, although I'm sure he did meditation and all that stuff, but like he was really a badass because he was like he was so dedicated to what he was doing. I mean, I want to talk about over the top. But he tried to utilize it's not like, and I don't know much about this part of his journey, but like using substances and whatnot for better or worse, in some cases, it sounded like he was using some various substances. He's always experimenting. He's always trying to find, how can I go to another level? I mean, in his connection with his martial arts or whatever, everything it kind of sounded like, and to some degree. So anyway, so that's the thing, is people are, is looking for like another level. So there's all this biohacking going on. There's microdosing. You talked about you talk a lot about, and the value of that. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? Like, what have you seen, like, in helping leaders to elevate what's possible for them, directly with that, like through what are nootropics, by the way, because I'm not totally clear on it. You've told me before, but what are nootropics and what is microdosing? Let's make sure we understand what those things are.
Sure, let's get the baseline down. So nootropics are a category of vitamins that specifically help brain function. So there's a whole category of hundreds, maybe even thousands of different herbs that are directly, considered nootropics. Shilajit mushrooms, even like say psilocybin in small doses is a nootropic. Even nicotine in small doses is a nootropic. I know a lot of people who take, 1 to 2 milligrams of, whether the pouches or a dropper or whatever of nicotine, you're not smoking a cigarette, but you're getting straight nicotine. It's focus. It's like this, it basically does things to your brain that helps you, be better or feel better. So nootropics are just that, anything that basically any herb or vitamin that's really impacting positively your brain function. Almost always nootropics are taken in some sort of stack, right? And because things synergistically work together. So, finding the best, like say, stack of nootropics is what everyone always does. Of course, now there's, hundreds of different stacks of people sell different stacks of different nootropics. We launched the very first CBD nootropic back in 2020. And I've been using nootropics for about 9 years now, since about 2015, in different formulations and different things. But you mentioned microdosing. I haven't done it in a while, but for me, microdosing was a really great kind of nootropic in a way. It would help me focus a little bit. It would help me give me like a little bit of like that sparkle creativity. But for mainly, it just helped me feel more centered. And what we talked about earlier, you feel good, you do good, right? So it almost helped me with my anxiety, helped me with any kind of like stress or, the worrying of being, like say, day to day. If you're an entrepreneur, there's always something to worry about. There's always something you could be thinking about. So it kind of helps you just be more present, right? That's kind of the key to everything. If you're the more present you are, the more ability you have to, do things in real time and have impact on things that you're potentially worrying about. So I think microdosing specifically really just kind of helps take that edge off of worrying and any kind of real like stress and like feeling like it's heavy or undoable. Kind of gives you that just a little bit of a lightness and that kind of like sparkle, if you will. People have different things why they microdose. Usually it's for stress relief, and or just to feel better. Sometimes it's for focus and whatever, but in general, it's more just to feel better. And a lot of people just have great anecdotal evidence, and like I said, there's more studies coming out every day around psilocybin and how you can microdose it. For me, like I have a thing I spray. I have a spray. Put 2 sprays under your tongue. I'm not going to feel any real effects. Like I'm not going to feel, psychedelic. It's not going to have any major effects, but it's almost giving this a little bit boost of energy, almost that little bit of like just crystallization of clear. So for a lot of people, it's definitely new. It's definitely kind of exciting. But it's been going on, like say Steve Jobs famously, he used LSD and used other things, but then he was microdosing. And a lot of people in Silicon Valley have been microdosing for 15, 20 years now. When I was up in San Francisco in 2015, I got firsthand look into a lot of the companies, and it was kind of astonishing how many people were using these. Because they're non-addictive, so it's not like, oh, I'm going to need to use this every day, and I'm going to feel bad if I don't have it. It has none of that, right? But it's more about, it just overall kind of gives you this sense of feeling better, feeling like I'm more myself. I don't have the worry, the anxiety. So these compounds can really, like say they're not hurting your body. I say people think about alcohol and people want to lump like, cannabis with alcohol. And it's like, well, alcohol is poisoning your body, right? You're drinking something and it's literally poisoning your body, and the effects you're feeling is your body, trying to basically cleanse the poison out of your system, right? Well, cannabis has cannabinoids. We produce our own internal cannabinoids. These are exogenous cannabinoids that connect in receptors all over your body and your brain. So it's working harmoniously with your body, right? It's basically, connecting with your CB1, CB2 receptors. So it's a very different experience for me and for most people drinking alcohol as opposed to, using cannabis. So that's the main distinction I try and tell a lot of people. Is like people think alcohol and cannabis are similar, or that they should be, treated the same. And the funny thing is, right now, cannabis is treated way worse. From everything from federal legalization to the banking to everything like that, to media to the meta platforms from Facebook and Instagram. You can talk about doing anything with alcohol all day, every day. But if you even put anything about cannabis, you get shut down, or there's shadow banning. So it's really interesting to see the programming that we've had around those two substances and how we've culturally lifted one up and culturally repressed the other one. And what if we flipped that? If we had many people, as many people using cannabis as we did alcohol, then I feel like we would have a much different conversation around health and wellness, introspection. Because from my experience and a lot of people I work with, alcohol tunes you out of your experience, right? Kind of makes you feel like invincible, Superman, whatever. Cannabis tunes you in. It makes you more introspective and or more attuned to your body and what's going on. So if we had more people tuned in as opposed to tuned out, we'd probably be in a much different situation day to day, year to year, as we move here as a collective.
My guess is when people hear cannabis, though, the first thing they're thinking is with THC and smoke bellowing out of a car, and or we're high as a kite or whatever. We're getting the munchie.
That's one way to do it. It sounds like you've done this before.
Sounds like a familiar scene to you. Well, that wouldn't be yeah, I always tell people, like, the first time I've hardly ever done that, actually, but the first time I ever did it, I was working at a grocery store. Like, I was that kind of crazy, I guess, at the time. I'm like, they're like, well, you've never done it? Oh, wow, you should try it. I'm like, I was crazy enough as a teenager, right? Like, sure, okay, I'm at work, whatever.
You have to go back to work?
Yeah, I was bagging people's groceries right afterwards. like, whoa, everything's like a strobe light. It's like a strobe light, the strobe light experience kind of feeling of life. And I'm like, oh, am I really bagging this stuff or what? Or, all that. So that was pretty wild. But my point is I think that one of the things I've heard so many things as you're talking. It was really, really helpful to me. I was hearing every word you said, and I was in my own meditation too at the same time. It was really cool. So I was hearing that, it's about the dosing. It's like people even say, like, well, Coke is no good for, like Coca-Cola, it has no use. It's no good for you. Well, if you've got kidney stones, it might be, like kidney stones, you get that and asparagus or whatever. There's these magic concoctions. In Ayurvedic, they show like almost anything you could think of could be helpful, potentially, given your condition. But you may not want to use it all the time, right? Or you may not want to use, a certain amount of it all at once, right? But we get we're so categorized in the good and bad that we can't see the truth.
Black and white.
Yeah. Weed bad, alcohol bad. It's good if you use it in moderation, but bad if you use a lot, right? Or too often, or whatever, maybe, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, now, like, it's the demons starting to become alcohol even more, to use any. Now that they're saying, well, any amount is bad for you, right? I mean, not a lot of people are hearing this yet, but it's starting to come out, this idea, like, oh no, it's bad for your brain. You've heard that, right? Bad for your brain. Any amount is bad for your brain. Any amount. And then I think that's going too far, to be honest. Like, I think they're gonna go too far with that now.
Moderation, including
Right.
moderation, to say.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, moderation is a key, right? When are you using, when are you using it? What's the setting? What's your mindset? Why are you using it? What's the set? So set and setting, and then, the amount, how much you're using. And when it comes to cannabis, what strain and what different chemovar are you using? Because everyone's a little bit different, alcohol similar, vodka and tequila and all these different ones. And maybe certain people feel different off ones, like beer, wine, hard alcohol. So similarly, like, what are you using? But the main thing is your mindset going into it and your setting in which you're in. Now, of course, how much is a big portion of that as well. But here's the thing for me, I know if I am already, like, feeling down, or I don't say depressed, 'cause I don't feel like depression is, that's a longer term thing. But if I'm feeling depressed or feeling sad, if I drink alcohol or use cannabis, that's only going to magnify that state for me. So it's not going to change my state per se. It's just going to magnify that state I'm kind of already in. So the setting, my point being, the setting in which you're going into the experience is hugely important. I think a lot of people have and maybe it does temporarily for a moment or two or an hour. If you're really depressed and you just forget about, like, say, tunes you out of your whole experience and I'm just present and having fun and dancing or whatever, I can, forget about it for a little bit. But it really is going to heighten it back as soon as you start feeling the come off of that, or you start the next morning, you wake up, you're like, oh shit, now everything, I feel awful, and I still have to take care of all those things that I didn't want to think about, right? So it puts you in a worse space to take it on. So the set is important in that equation, really having the intention why. And maybe the intention is just to have fun. Like, hey, like I've been working all week and I'm gonna have fun today, right? And whether I'm gonna smoke my car, or I'm gonna go to the bar and have some drinks. And I have no judgment. I just personally don't like alcohol. Like my body doesn't really like it at all. I love a good beer or a good glass of wine, like the taste and the flavor. I've grown to like that. So I have 5 to 7 drinks a year essentially, and I only ever one at a time. That's just my role. So I mean, but that's what works for me. Titrate what works for you. And then for me, like cannabis, small doses on weekends or later in the evenings, or for me, it really helps me shifting from my masculine, get shit done business mode to more feminine dad, play with my kids, connect, feel like more patient, more empathy, all the things that the feminine kind of is, right? So for me, I'm using it for different purposes. I'm using it in different states, or when I want to change my state to be a little more feminine, I can use some cannabis because it actually unlocks that for me. It dulls my masculine a bit. I don't feel as like, I don't feel like I have to be as like basically like I think of like previously like my father and other dads kind of like drill sergeant, right? It's kind of like that. And if I thought if he'd had a little cannabis, I think it would have softened a little bit. I could maybe connected a little further with him. So I'm just trying things out with my kids. And for me, I feel like for me, having some cannabis, not every day, not all the time, but in certain settings or in certain situations, especially with my kids or when I'm wanting to be more open and more connected, cannabis helps me.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, this is really, really awesome. I mean, yeah, what is it that's gonna make you most effective on every level? I mean, I remember talking to a business person once, and they're like, "Wow, we're killing it in the business and all this stuff." And I think they were one of those. Maybe there was, I forget. I think maybe it was like they were in the Get Your Orgasm company or something like that. Whatever they're doing, I was like, "Oh, that's so great! You're doing that. Are you present for your kids?" Yeah, all of a sudden we found a hole right away. Like the minute I asked that question. Yeah, well, and it's like, okay, that's an issue. You can't run around it. There are some people that believe like I've heard this from the trainer of Michael Jordan and all that, right? What the heck's that guy's name? Anyway, so he talks about Tim is it Tim Grover, I
Tim
believe.
Grover. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tim Grover.
Anyway, so he says like his own kid said one time, "You're working really hard." He says, "Yeah, I got to provide for the family," because he kept going off with Michael Jordan. Well, if I eat less, can you stay home more? And then he tells this big story, but then I decided I needed. It was so hard for me, but I decided I needed to keep doing it anyway, and it was okay, and all this sort of thing. And then later, she thanked me as an adult that I was such a great example. I was going for what I wanted to do and everything. Okay, I mean, maybe, but I mean, then again, if you, I mean, maybe if each to each their own. I mean, I'm going in a zone where I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying, if you have a hole in your life and you can feel that and it's a hole in your life and it's something you want to address, you've got to address it. You can't keep saying, I don't have the time, I can't do. And what I find usually is when I make the time for things I say I don't have time for that take care of me and nurture me more, then yeah, I have new business ideas, right? The usual thing we always hear. You get new business ideas, you have new energy for your business, and better results unfolding more easily. So who doesn't want that? I mean, you think it's only your belief system that tells you need to stay so at it all the time, right?
Yeah, and for me, it comes down to quality over quantity, right?
Mhm.
Do I need to work 68 to 80 hours a week to really get done what I want to do? No, I don't. I can do it in half that. I can do it in 30 to 40 hours a week, right? But I get to be full on when I'm in there and full off with my kids when I'm not. And but that's part of the motivation. Like, hey, I'm showing up today. I'm doing this and this. I'm so excited. I'm going to crush this. And then when I'm after that, I'm going to be fully with my kids and do stuff, with my family or whatever in the evenings. For sure. And there's definitely a lot of high drive parents. I got to say here in general, my dad worked a lot. He had his own business and he gave me that model of what an entrepreneur could. And we had a lot of great mindset talks, but he wasn't around as much. So I got to spend more time with my mom, which is probably good. It's probably why I have a higher EQ, right? Because I was just around women more. I, converse differently than if I was with my dad or with men all the time. So everything's happening to our maximum advantage is what I like to say. So whatever it is that you have experienced is there for your greatest good in a sense of it showed you something, it taught you something that otherwise wouldn't be present if you would have gone a different route. So I don't like to judge people. Like say, if you think about like Elon Musk, I don't even know how many kids he has now, but he's got a lot and he's, probably not the most present father. I mean, he's got how many things going on and this and that. And I'm sure he sees his kids. I'm sure he loves his kids. But would he be like your average dad? No, he can't be. We all make trade-offs and sacrifices, and I think his thing is, he feels he wants to make the most impact he can, and these businesses are the way to do that. And he feels it was his obligated duty. He's a big person. He thinks that we're running out of people. He thinks we're going to, not have too many people. We're going to have, a drop off here. And he's pretty smart on that. Actually, I kind of agree with him. But either way, I digress. He's doing his part, and I think he has 8 or 10 kids, right? So he's got a lot of kids, and it'd be hard even without being a business person to be present for 8 or 10 kids, I'm sure. So I'm sure there's sacrifices that have to be made on his part to say, hey, like I'm doing all this. I want to bring kids in the world. I'm surrounding them with the best people and whatever to make sure they're taken care of and whatever. And I'll be there for when I can. And I can't even imagine that would be a very hard and challenging, trade-off. Thinking about my kids and whatever I do, like that would be a really challenging thing to say I'm going to work, because he's one of those people who does work that 60 to 80 hours a week, and he's very quality of that time. So he's getting quality and quantity. That's why he gets more done than most anyone in the world. So he's just one of those people, and not everyone, most people are not Elon Musk, right? He talks about himself being on the spectrum, and that's a whole nother conversation, but he's able to push himself and do certain things and or have the ability to trade off on certain things that I just wouldn't, right? And most people wouldn't. So, I don't like to put Elon as like a marker for entrepreneurs or great leaders. I don't necessarily think that's true. I like Elon. I think he's doing some great stuff, but I don't know that he's like, say, I wouldn't trade places with him. No way, no way, no how. I mean, I'm 10 years younger, more than that younger. So that's the first thing. But just in general, like even him at 40, like, no, I'm not trading places with Elon. It's just not happening. So it just depends what you want. Like I say, leadership, it can look different in different phases of your life and in seasons of your business and in even different industries and whatever. So leadership is not one blanket thing, but there's elements of leadership that we talked about here today that are transcend any industry and anything that I think the best leaders moving forward as we get younger and younger, as far as the generations, we're getting out of that drill sergeant, Steve Jobs-esque kind of leader, as good as he was, and like say he was doing the best he could with the information he had available at that time. We're transcending that. And there's another level of leader that's going to rise up here in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can't, again, what constituted, that's a success. We can't expect that that's the same and expect our world to shift in the ways that we want to, right? So it's the face of leadership obviously is going to change along with that.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, right? So I'm sure it will. Okay, so, and I'm sure there'll always be different types of leaders too, in my opinion, but well, it's
sure.
yet to be seen, right? I guess. All right, so Matt, I would love for you to share with people more about, this has been amazing. There's so much more to get into, right? So if they want to connect with you or learn more about how you help in all these spaces that you play in within leadership and within nootropics and all that good stuff. So can you tell them where they can check that all out?
Absolutely. So I'm sure your like say your audience would probably like the nootropics and media company that I've co-founded and I'm a lesser of an active part in, but I'm definitely still working with that team. Go to Infinite, and you can put the links down there, INFYNIT, infinite.tv. So Infinite is that brand, the Infinite XR nootropic. We have other health and wellness products, but we have a whole media library of pretty cutting edge stuff around health, wellness, tech, blockchain. We're doing a bunch of stuff on that side as well with Web3 and blockchain, a bunch of stuff over there. My business partner, he's in that space. And then so go to infinite.tv. check that out. See if there's anything interesting there. You can start your free trial and check out all the content and see a bunch of stuff we're doing. If you like it, you can. I think it's $10 a month for a membership to have all that content, have all the access to the live streams that we do weekly. And then the other side, if you're interested in plant medicines, we have specific a B2B network community, mastermind community here. Because I'm based in Southern California, but we're kind of all over here in the U.S. and abroad. Actually, we're starting to branch out in some other countries. But you can go to innercircle.biz, just like it sounds, innercircle.biz. Learn more about that. That'll give you insights into the community we're building. And if you're curious to learn more about that, and if you wanted to reach out to me directly, you can reach out to Matt@innercircle.biz. That's my personal email. Happy to respond in a timely manner as far as any questions, or if you have inquisitions around plant medicines and how they could potentially be utilized. We have some resources I can share with you if you're whatever you're asking about. We have some different stuff we can share with you once you get on there. A lot of the stuff we don't publish fully public, just because a lot of the stuff is still kind of gray area, and or Google and Meta and these other platforms don't love us talking about that, so we keep most of it behind a paywall, or it's something I have to share separately. So we don't we don't advertise, we don't promote a lot of this stuff in general, just because the powers that be don't want us to be talking about it yet. So we're still kind of a little bit under the radar on a lot of that stuff. That's why like say Meta and all those platforms just don't support us having those conversations or talking about those substances. So email me personally. I can have more conversation with you, in a less public setting, and we can go forward on that. So those are the two main things: innercircle.biz and infinite.tv. Those are my two main projects. My personal website's matt-ritchey.com. You can put that link down there as well. That kind of just gives you an overview of sort of my background and what I've done leading up to this project that I'm working on right now. But yeah, we have some really cool media that we're creating, and some stuff that we're really excited about in the Web3 and the blockchain space that we're working on within that, which is just been something I've only learned about in the last 3 or 4 years. I feel like that's such a Web3 and AI and a bunch of this technology that's coming on is really going to change a lot of our things in the future. And to be an elevated executive, to be a great leader, a cutting edge leader, you have to have, you don't have to maybe know how to operate it all, but you have to have knowledge of and connected to the right people that are working with these technologies, because if you're not, like I say, you'll be left behind in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's definitely something we're leaning into to make sure that we're responsibly using this technology and helping other people to do the same, in a sense that it'll hopefully help people's business, not make it less personable. And, the whole AI chatbot thing and all the stuff where it's taking people out of the jobs, that's one thing, but it's really, we need to keep that human connection and make sure that people are keeping the human element of business and of leadership of companies, because I think that is still a key ingredient moving forward. No matter how much automation and AI we have, the human element is still the thing that differentiates brands, that differentiates your experience, whether it be customer service or otherwise. It's really important to make sure that we don't lose sight of that human touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, so some people get it right away. We're going to need to know more about AI, Web3, whatever, all these different things, Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever, all that stuff. And some people are like, well, whatever, whatever. But yeah, everybody didn't get it on the internet right away. People waited. People thought they could keep doing business in the same old ways forever. And then the pandemic happened. Oh, I know. I mean, the pandemic. I'm sorry. Anyway, the pandemic happened. Sorry about that mistake there. But yeah, that happened. And then we found, like, you better be doing business online. A lot of people found out, like, man, I can make way more money a lot easier by not, like people in my space. I don't have to do my live events anymore. Now, Tony Robbins, everybody really got into it once that hit. Like, now they're like, yeah, I don't know, we'll do some live stuff maybe, but we're making more money and be more profitable doing this online. But it took, something happening for them to get into it. When some people had already figured it out. Some people had already figured it out. Like, I'm making more money doing it this way, and in some ways it's more effective, in other ways it's not as good, of course. But people, that are ahead of it are more prepared too. Like, people are scrambling. Like, how the hell do I do this Zoom stuff? Like, people are just meeting in person or whatever, right? So it is a good idea to try to stay ahead of things, and you've inspired me to, remember that, even though I am looking into some of those things. But Yeah, we got to stay on top of it. I think that's part of leadership as well.
Having great vision and seeing what's coming is part of your job as a leader. If you're running an organization or a company or
Yeah.
whatever it is, whether it be your specific industry and or just the overall meta picture of, global politics and just everything, economic wise, it's our sort of duty to keep a pulse on that, just because everything impacts everything. Certain things more than others, of course, and other things more directly, but everything has a ripple effect along with everything. So technology, emerging technologies, and wars and everything like that, supply chains, it's all interconnected to a certain degree. So as a leader, keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on is crucial. So
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So, oh, great. So, definitely connect more with Matt if you're so inclined, and I definitely will be continue to connect with you. And so now we're at the opportunity for me to share with the audience and with you then some downloads for you, Matt, and anything that may come through. And as I scan into it, of course, you've already experienced this with me one time a little bit. We met at the Red Pill XP event. So retreats, which I recommend everybody check out as well. So yeah, so are you ready to receive? I'll give you like 3 downloads. I'll just kind of do them kind of briefly and quickly, and then
yes,
we'll
please.
talk about it maybe real quickly, briefly afterwards. And this is for all of you guys, by the way. So make sure you listen in. All right. So it sounded like you said please, and you're ready. Okay, great. So you ready, Matt? Okay, all right. Here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and tune in. Hmm. Wonderful array of pictures. Wow. I'm getting like massive different things. Like that's interesting. It must be all those psychedelics you're taking. Like I'm picking up on that. I'm like, well, that's what it feels like, kind of. But I what I see is like I see all like your past lives and everything. They're all kind of colliding, coming together at once here, and it just feels like you've experienced a lot of different things, through these lifetimes, like being in war and being that soldier and just being dutiful and but yet there's this part of you that's always been looking from the bigger perspective, and that is your superpower, is your ability to be able to see a bigger perspective of things, and like you were just saying, like you're able to see synergies and with everything that's happening. I can see how this part connects with that part and all those sorts of things. And so you can kind of see how things are wanting to come together. So you're a great visionary leader because you can see the way things are unfolding. So that's one download. The other download is I really do feel that there's another level of embodied connection with source and confidence that you're wanting to build up. Because although you can get on a roll and feel good about yourself and strong and all that stuff, there is that when I look in the upper field of your energy, I get that there's could be some old feelings of there are still remnants there. I don't know how active they are all the time, but maybe being abandoned, being left on your own to take care of something, and nobody took care for you. Some of this may be just past life. I'm not saying it all happened this life, but like okay, nobody's taking care. So maybe I was abandoned. So ultimately, what the association is, life's not supporting. Life's not there for me fully, not consistently. Maybe it's there fully at moments and times and here and space, but it's not always there. And so that idea that can go away. So this meditation you're doing, for example, like just even going deeper. I know you've gone way deep at times, but like keep going deeper. Like you did tell me your practice. So I would, if I were, if I literally was coaching you, maybe I am in this moment, I would say like, okay, maybe double and triple down a little bit on meditation, even go further with that. A lot of people I say like, what about 3 meditations a day or something like that? So anyway, so that comes to mind. That could help you be in that more that's I want to say connected, serenity, super mind or whatever, because you're very magical when you're super connected. So those are two or three at least. So I'm going to just stop there. Otherwise, I keep going on and on. All right. So, Matt, any quick reflections? It doesn't have to all resonate, but what kind of popped for you?
It's actually very resonant. I think the latter thing you're talking about there around deepening my practice, that's actually something I've been wanting to do. Like say, having had two young kids now, 2.5 and 5 now, my meditation practice has been a little bit on the back burner. Like say, I haven't, I'm not, previously I've done full day meditation retreats,
Yes.
had longer practices or multiple practices a day, and I haven't done that for a good 5 years now. So I feel like I've been finding a new normal of time and energy allocation, and two kids, two businesses, and all the things I get to do as a partner and man. It's challenging to find that time, but what I hear and what I'd like to challenge myself would be to minimum 20 minutes a day, and whether that be
Yeah.
broken up into two different sections or even just getting one good session in the morning. Really, like say for me, 20 minutes is kind of a good sweet spot for going deeper. 10 minutes kind of gets you there, 15 starts to get in, and 20 minutes is that, for me, that sweet spot of getting deeper. So I like that challenge. And the previous thing you mentioned about psychedelics and kind of feeling like it was high energy and whatever, like that's what psychedelics do. They bring up new possibilities, right? They open up
Yeah.
new visionary leaders, like, like say Steve Jobs, and even like say Elon Musk has talked about his psychedelic experiences and how they encapsulate or they captivate certain things within his businesses and things that he thought up, and they don't necessarily even make sense in the time, but they're kind of like, oh, we're going to build these things that connect all these things. Okay, we're just going to go out and make it happen now. We're going to figure out how to do it, but you have to have the vision first. And that's what cutting edge leadership really is really having that bigger vision than anyone can think of, and then grounding that into action within people, and people feel your energy of resonance of belief that it can actually happen. And that belief is that cornerstone to, inspiring people into action. I think that's where a lot of these, like say visionaries like Elon and whatever, that's why people do follow him, because he has that belief that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time and energy and outputs. And psychedelics is a catalyst for that. It's not the only way to do it, of course, but it is a catalyst, and it can be a tool for using using the upper realms of our vision and what's possible to really kind of ground then in our real life of how we take action in a way that's cutting edge and or moving us forward as humans. So thank you for that, those downloads like that. I feel like that's it's very in line.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's wonderful. And yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm really grateful that came through this show for me too, is just a reminder of the importance of really connecting to your vision and honing that vision, and how critical that is. I was having those thoughts before we even got to this moment, like that is so critical to leadership. I mean, it's so critical. So, so thank you for sharing that. And if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. You get your free Meditate to Make Money meditation. And yeah, when you tune in, you get connected at that in that deeper space, then you have that opportunity to follow guidance that comes through, that is with it embedded in that meditation to do those inquiries. And then the downloads come, and it's definitely help people to grow their businesses that are utilizing that. So you can get that at yoursacredpurpose.com. You can get your free Meditate Make Money meditation, and of course you can, I'm able to tune into you guys and see what's going on and see what wants to happen for your path. So if you want to take advantage of my gifts to tune in, like you see a little bit here today with Matt, you can get a free, not a free, but a paid. I'm so used to in the past, it was free many years ago, but the Rock Your Sacred Purpose Energy Scan Consultation right on my website. And I'll take a look at your energy and what I see inside you and what's possible, what's next, what visions I see that want to happen, and could, or all the way down to tactical and strategic stuff, because I cover all that stuff, it seems, these days. So it's always been my passion to do all of it. Oh, all right. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So, Matt, I like to give the guests the last word. So, well, I try to anyway, but I'm so talky sometimes. But any last words of wisdom for the audience?
Oh man, last words. That's what everyone remembers. Make sure you have a little fun out there. Don't take life too seriously. What I found is the essence of all the greats is the ones who are having the most fun tend to be the best leaders and or attract the best people. So make sure whatever you're doing, inject some fun into it.
Absolutely. So it is. I do want to share on top of that, but I'm not going to because that's golden. All right. Okay. All right. So thanks for coming on, Matt. It's a great pleasure and joy to have you on the show today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank you for providing the space.
Sure thing. All right. And to all our listeners, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.